Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So, I know it's hard to see him, but you saw the picture. We're going to make a boxer. The reason he has a tail is because my boxer has a tail. So, most boxers don't, but I will add a pattern for you to make a short little stubby in the video. So, we are going to make a boxer today. Let's get started. So you can use any color you want. I'm using this color. My dog's more of a reddish brown, but I don't have that color. And during a pandemic, it's been very hard to get yarn. I'm sure most of you out there know. So I am going to be using a 5mm or an H hook. Let's jump right into this. This is just a 4-weight. It's not worsted. I have no idea what name brand. I didn't actually keep the tag. I spin mine into cakes, but it feels like a red heart. But I don't know the color because I didn't save the thing. So you're going to start with a magic ring and 6 single crochets. That's 6. You're going to need a stitch marker. We're going to be working amigurumi style. We're not going to be working with a slip stitch or chaining. We're just going to keep going continuous rounds. That's amigurumi. So you don't need to slip stitch here and you don't need to chain anything. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. So you're just going to go directly into this first stitch and just start making your stitches. So after this first stitch, this is where your marker goes in, not after the second stitch. And then you can put your other stitch in. So 2 stitches up in every stitch all the way around gives you 12. That is 12. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. That is my 1 single crochet. And then your next stitch gets an increase, which is 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets all the way around, and at the end you should have 18 stitches. So we increase by 6 stitches every single round. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1. That's 2 single crochets and then your increase of 2 in the same space. So don't forget, this marker is always number 1. And repeat, 1, 1, 2. All the way around for a total of 24 stitches. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1, 2, and 3. And then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. 1, 2, and 3, and your increase of 2 in the same space. So at the end of this, you're going to have 30 stitches. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. Excuse me. That is number 1. This is 4 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. Your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1. That's 5 single crochets, and then your next stitch gets 2 single crochets in the same space for the increase. So this will bring you up to 42 stitches, and after you're done this, I want you to put 1 single crochet in each of those 42 stitches for the next 6 rows. So I will put my screens up, and I will see you on the other side. So this is what it should look like. So I'm building from the head down. So we are going to start to decrease right now. We're going to do 5 single crochets decrease because we ended with a 5 single crochet increase. That's number 1. Always number 1. So that's 5 single crochets. Your decrease is going to be over these 2 stitches. So you're going to go in and pull up a loop. You're going to go into your second stitch, pull up a loop, and then you're going to pull through all 3 loops. That's your decrease. And repeat. 5 single crochets. And your decrease. This will bring you back down to 36 stitches. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and a decrease, and this will take you down to 30 stitches. That's number 1. Two, 3, and 4, and then your decrease. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochet and a decrease, and this will bring you down to 24 stitches, and then we're going to start to do the face. That's number 1, 2, and 3, and then you decrease. Okay, so I'm going to stop here and I'm going to do the eye. So I said we were going to do the face. We don't have to do the face, but I am going to do the eyes. So we need to put the safety eyes on. But I use black around, so you can use whatever color, but I know your box probably has colors around his eyes. Mine happen to be black. So as far as all these markings, this is for my dog. We're not going to do any of that. You can do your own markings. And his chest, same thing. I'm not going to do any markings as far as the chest. Well, maybe I'll do like a basic marking, but this here, this is just because that's what my dog look. That's how his markings go. But I'll just do a basic marking for here. And then, you know, the paws and stuff, I have no idea if your dog has socks or if you want socks. So, I mean, this dog's, it's going to be a difficult video because I don't know what your dog looks like. My dog has black and white lips. That's why they're black and white. But I think I will just do white for this dog, and then if yours is different colors, you can do that, but I'm just gonna do white. And the muzzle I just did in black because of this part. So it's not gonna be a typical video because I don't know what your dog looks like, or even if you're even making a boxer because you have a boxer. So you're gonna have to bear with me with this video. I'm using 14mm safety eyes. So I'm going to set those aside for now because I want to do the black around his eyes. So, if I find the beginning, I'm still using my 5mm. You're going to make a magic ring of 6 single crochets. Sorry. You're going to make a magic ring of 4 single crochets. You're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch, so 8 is what you need. So I'm not going to use a stitch marker, I'm just going to count to 8. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So you can use a stitch marker here if you want. It's your last row too, but you can just count to 12 as well. So I did not want to do this video because of the black. It's so hard to see black, but I think mine looks pretty good, so I wanted to share it. Even though I know a lot of people don't have boxers, it's only going to be for the boxer community, but still, I thought he looked pretty good. So that is it for the eye. So you can go into your next stitch, you can fasten off. You're going to need a sewing tail, obviously. Just tack it down to his face. I mean, for the most part, I think the safety eye is going to hold it, obviously. But we need to still tack it to the face. I'm going to keep my straggler because I'm just going to tie it at the back inside the head because it's still open. So go ahead and make your second one. I'm going to go into here just because of the way it looks, and I'm going to pull this guy through because I don't like the way it looks without doing that. Now it looks perfectly round. So anyway, go ahead and make your second one. Should be nice and quick, and I'll meet you back here. So I've got both of mine done. I'm going to stick my safety eye through the center, if I can. There we go. Boy, that's tight. Alright, so I put mine, looks like when I count, looks like I put mine between the 7th and 8th row. Let me count again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, sorry, the 6th and 7th row. Make sure that's at the back, so make this the front of your head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So between there, it's going to be super duper tight because of having that piece we just crocheted in there, but it is possible to get it on. And it looks like I have 4 stitches in between my eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4 that are visible, so just make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Oh, might have to move that over. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches in between. So when you actually put them on, it looks like you have 4 stitches in between. That's what I did. So hopefully I can get the back on this. Oh, hopefully they're in the right spot. It's hard to do when nothing's been stuffed yet, you know? So hopefully I didn't just screw that up. For some reason it just doesn't look right to me, but that's what my other doll shows. This isn't stuffed, so it's very difficult. So I am going to stick this guy down through. And then I'm going to sew it's so difficult. So because I pulled him underneath, I got to start underneath. So come up into the stitches preferably, because you want to pull all that down. I think you want this to be pulled down. I know it's hard to see. I'm doing my best. Ah, man, I hate when that happens. I love these big head needles, but so try not to pull too tight because you don't want this to be out of shape. So you can do long stitches in the back, short stitches in the front. So when you come back around full circle, you can just tie these two pieces together kind of snugly, double knot. So I'll meet you back here after you get your other one sewn on. So that's my eyes. You can start stuffing this if you want. I like to push mine out and then like dig a hole and then fill the hole. I find I get a better stuffing. I feel like it turns out better. Alright, I'm gonna mess around later. So this next row is just gonna be one single crochet in each stitch. It should have 24 stitches. So your next round is going to be, So 2 single crochets and a decrease. 1 more decrease, and then 1 single crochet, and then we're going to increase. So that's number 1. That's number 2, and a decrease. So this brings you down to 18 stitches. And then the next row I want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 18 stitches. And then we're going to start to increase. Alright, you should have 18 stitches. Keep filling your head. We're going to start increasing for the body. So make sure your head is stuffed properly. Not that you're not going to be able to stuff it after this, but you're going to be more concentrated on making sure the neck area has enough stuffing, not really so much the head. So I just want you to make sure that the head is nice and round, you know, the shape it's supposed to be. So I think that is good for me. Move your stuffing around a bit. Get the right shape. Make sure you've got the right shape. It looks funny. So we're going to do 2 single crochets and an increase, bringing you back up to 24 stitches. So that 1 single crochet in each stitch, that was basically his neck. That's about all he gets for his neck because it's a dog and they don't, he's got more of chest in this doll than a neck. So that's 2 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. 1 1 2 1 1 2. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. Your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase. We go pretty big on this guy because boxers have such a large chest. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish. Alright, this is what you should have. So that saved a lot of time on the video. So your next couple of rows is going to be 7 single crochets and an increase. That brings you to 54 stitches. And then you can put 1 single crochet in each of those 54 stitches. That's number 1. That's 7 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And I'm sure you have this by now. I think it's just a habit for me to do it. I'll see you on the other side. So we're on our last increase row, which is going to be 8 single crochets and an increase. So this brings you up to 60 stitches, and I thought that was probably good enough. Now if you don't think so, you can keep going. You can do whatever you want, but I thought that was enough. So that's 8 single crochets and then your increase. So this brings you up to 60 stitches, like I said, and then your next 2 rows after that can be 1 single crochet in each of those 60 stitches. And then we'll start decreasing after that. So I'll meet you on the other side. Alright, so I am done my 2 rows. And your next round is going to be 6 single crochets and a decrease. So number 1. Oh my gosh. That's number 1. That's 6 single crochets and then your decrease. So that should give you 53 stitches. So you're probably not going to be able to finish your sequence like me. I've got 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches left. So I'm just going to do 3 and a decrease. Because I do want to get that last decrease in there. So I have no idea what your numbers are, because without being able to finish the sequence, I don't even know what my numbers are, because I'm not sure what I did. I could have just not finished it, or I could have just done what I just did. Doesn't really matter. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and a decrease. So that's number 1. That's 4 single crochets and then your decrease. So I'm not going to be able to finish this sequence either, which is fine. I know people like to freak out about stuff like that, but it's fine. It'll still look like a boxer. It'll still look like a dog. Everything will be okay. I got 4 stitches in, but I can't do my decrease, so you've got 2 things. You can either do your decrease under your marker, or you can just put 1 single crochet in there. I'm just going to put 1 single crochet in there. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease. And then your next round after that is going to be 7 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch. So I'll put that up on my screen, and we can all do that off camera. So that's 1 and 2. I already did mine there. And then a decrease. So again, I don't know what your numbers are, because I don't know what you did with the end of your sequences, but I should have 33. Oh, I just think I went over. 1, 2, decrease. If I don't screw this round up. So after you're done this, do your 7 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch, and I'll see you on the other side. Alright, so I am done my 7 rows. I've got a little bit left before I have to start my new roll. So I might show you how I do instead of tying a knot. I might, if I get down far enough. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease. Again. We did that before we did our 7 rows, but we're going to do it again. So I had 34 stitches, by the way. I was going to mention that. I had 34 stitches. When I designed this, I had 33. It's probably because I did that decrease under the marker, which I didn't do this time. So that's number 1 and number 2, and then your decrease. So I've got this much left. How I like to do my adding more yarn without, no, I don't need that much, so I'm going to keep going until it gets smaller, but how I do it is I start weaving my new roll in, then once I get down so far on this, I start weaving this in. So that's what I'm going to do now. Oh, and I have a knot. Of course I have a knot. There we go. So I'm going to add this, but I'm just weaving it in. So I am going to leave a tail, and I'm just going to weave this in as I go. So I'm still weaving that in. I'm coming back around to my marker anyway. Still weaving. It's just better than tying a knot. So I can't finish this, so I'm just going to do my 2 single crochets here. And your next round is going to be, and you should have 25 stitches. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet in each of those 25 stitches. So at this point, I'm still using my old row, and I'm weaving in, or roll cake, and I'm still weaving in my new cake. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So I'll show you in a second that's what I do. So when I get down so far, I drop my old row, I pick up my new, I keep saying roll, it's a cake. I pick up my new cake, and now I'm going to weave in the old cake. And that's how I do adding new yarn, well, adding a new cake without making a knot. So now you can weave in this as much as you want. You don't have to weave in a whole great big tail. I usually go pretty far though, just for added security. And you know, if you still feel the need to make a knot, you can still do it. You know it'll be on the inside most definitely. So I'm coming back around to my marker, and my next round is going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease, and then the next round after that is going to be the exact same thing. So I'm going to put my screen up, and I'll see you on the other side. So I've got mine stuffed. I've got the chest. The reason I shaped it like this is because boxers have great big ginormous chests. Mine is so wide across the chest. And then I calm down because the legs are going to be like movable. So they're going to be sewn to the outside through and through so that you can move them to a standing or sitting position. So that is why the body is shaped like this, in case you're wondering. So we're going to fasten off. I know it's hard to see. My camera needs to be raised a little bit when my dolls get big like this. So you only need a big enough tail to sew this shut. We're cinching it and then weaving a little bit. So because we're cinching it, when we pull, this is gonna get longer. So Oh, and I seem to have a knot where I shouldn't have a knot. Right there. That sucks. Look it. This is what I get from the store. These knots. I hate that. Anyway, but I guess they gotta do what they gotta do. You try to avoid knots, and then you get your yarn and knots from the store. So we're gonna cinch this shut. So you're gonna go pick up just one piece right there, and you're gonna go in and out of the next stitch. Just one piece. In that stitch, out that stitch. One piece of yarn. So do that all the way around till you get back to your fasten off point. Well, that was 5.5 times for me. If you feel like you need more, put more in right now before we cinch it shut, but if you're fine, just pull. So it cinches shut just like that, but we still need to secure it. So just come across, pull through, and go through the loop you just made. That makes a knot, but to tighten that knot right down, you're going to wiggle it back and forth, and that tightens that knot right down. I probably could have used more stuffing, but no big deal. I'll just push it down. So then you weave. So go in somewhere, pop out somewhere. But when you weave, just go into the next stitch to do it, because you want this to look like a stitch, but try to go in 3 different directions. So that's going to look like a stitch right there. Don't pull hard, and then go in again as close as you can to this guy. Go in another direction and pop out somewhere. I don't know if I can do 3 because I'm pretty short already. So, trying to find my little scissors. I'm just going to snip that off, but we're going to leave a little nubby. You can just poke that guy down in there. There we go. So I'm just going to move mine around because I probably should have added more down there, but so we're going to do the muzzle first because he looks pretty funny. He doesn't even look like he's a boxer. So we're going to do the muzzle next to make him look more like a dog. So you're going to need black if your dog's muzzle is black, or whatever color it is. Maybe it is his fur color, but most boxers have a black or brown muzzle. So I'm using black because mine is black, but it is such a short project, so let's get started. Let's jump right in. Magic ring with 6 single crochets. Black is such a bad color to work with, but it's gotta happen. So I'm gonna turn my light up a little bit. Move my coffee out of the way before I knock it over. So your next round is gonna be 2 single crochets in each stitch. Now normally I would just count to 12, but because I can only see part of what I'm doing right now, black is so hard to work with, it's so hard to see. I absolutely hate working with black. However, I really wanted to do this boxer to make, so I have a boxer and I have a Russian blue cat. So I'm making both actually. I'm going to do this boxer, and right now I'm working on the design of, well, right now I'm working on the design of Toothless and Russian blue cat. So I got a lot going on. But if you have a Russian blue, I try to perfect my design so that they actually look like the animal. I'm not completely happy with this boxer, but it's doable. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. That's going to bring you up to 18 stitches. So that's 1 single crochet and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the next space. That's 18. I always count. I count by threes when I do that because I don't know if I'm seeing every stitch. It's so hard for me. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1. And that's number 2. And then your increase of 2 in the same space. So you can count up by 4 on this round. It should take you to 24 stitches. And then after that I want you to do 8 rows of 1 single crochet in each of those 24 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So this is what it should look like. So we can fasten off. You're going to need a sewing tail. We're going to sew this on open and we're going to stuff it. So you need a sewing tail and enough to weave after. You're only going to be able to weave once because it's black, but so we're going to sew this on open and stuff it like I said. I'm repeating myself now, good gosh. Okay, so I know this is going to look really big right now, but so put it a little bit down from the eyes because we are putting on the lips, the jowls. So don't put it right up against the eyes, so just down a little bit from the eyes. So figure out where you want it. You can pin it in place. I'm just going to use a needle. Pin that in place. A couple of spots. So I'm going to do hidden stitches, which means I'm going to go in as close as I can to this guy and my muzzle, and I'm going to go up into the stitch. And I know this may be really hard for you to see because the color, the angle. So I'm going to go up into the stitch like that. I'm into the doll, up into the stitch. So when I pull, because I'm as close to the muzzle as I can be, I'm going to pull up and out. That's going to suck that stitch right in underneath the muzzle. And I'm going to do that for every single stitch. I'm not going to skip stitches or anything else. I'm going to do that for every single stitch. I'm going to go down into the doll, up into the next stitch, and I'm going to pull up and away. So now don't worry about this part where you fastened off and it's crooked. We're putting a jowl over this and under this, so you're not going to see that. So I don't want to go too far because this is a pretty deep nose. I'm going to start putting stuffing in it. Now it's going to be a little more awkward or easier, whichever one. Once you get closer to closing it, you can put more in. It's hard to do on camera. Sewing is always hard to do on camera. So once you have it sewn on the best you can, you can just go in close to this guy, go into your nose and pop out somewhere wherever. So because we can't really weave at this point, I like to tie a knot. So theory is, this knot, if anyone was to tug on my nose, this knot would get lodged into the stuffing. So they'd probably be able to pull it a little bit out, but not completely off. So cut it off till you have a nubby. And then just poke that knot and the nubby down into the head, into the stuffing as best you can. And there we go. I know this looks big, but once the jowls are on and stuff like that, it will look like this. So it looks funny when it's coming together, but once it's all together, it looks pretty cool. So speaking of jowls, let's move on to jowls. So I'm gonna do underneath the chin first, because it's all white, just outlined in black, and I sew that on before I sew the top on, so that's why we're doing that one first. If yours is not, I don't know what your dog looks like, but if yours is not, then you can do it whatever color your dog is. I'm gonna find my start of my cake. Oh, this is not gonna go well. There we go. So we are changing hooks. There we go. I'm going to use a 4mm for this. Let me put some of my stuff away. Let me use my 4mm. So we're not starting with a magic ring this time. We're going to chain 10. Let me turn this down now that this is white. I turn my light back down. So that's 10. I'm going to do 9 single crochets back up to the top. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Chain 1, turn your work. So I'm going to start increasing. I'm going to increase in the first stitch, and I'm going to increase in the last stitch. So in your first stitch, you got to put 2 single crochets. Then you're going to do 7 single crochets across till you come to your last stitch. Then you're going to put 2 single crochets in that same space. That's 7 single crochets. So then this turning over stitch, you're going to put 2 single crochets in that same space. Chain 1, turn your work. You're going to do 11 single crochets. Chain 1, turn your work. Again, you're going to put 2 single crochets in the first stitch. You're going to do 9 single crochets across, 1 in each stitch. And then in your last stitch, you're going to put 2 single crochets in the same space. Chain 1 and turn. Now you're going to do 13 single crochets, and you're going to do that for 6 rows. So 1 in each stitch. You should have 13 stitches for the next 6 rows, and I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have. At this point, we are going to fasten off. We're going to add black. If yours is the same as mine, his lips are black and everything else, so I'm going to outline this with black. So make a slip knot. So that noise you hear is my dog chewing on his bone, and it's radiating right through the floor. Good stuff. So reattach. You gotta create stitches down the sides and up the side here, because there isn't any, but just stick it in wherever it goes in. There's no real rhyme or reason. Usually at the end of every row that you did. So we're just going around one single crochet, is nothing fancy, with the black. Now if your dog's lips are not black and you don't need to do this, then you can skip this part. So you have stitches down here you can follow. It is going to roll up if you're using worsted weight with this 4mm hook, but don't worry about that. Let's try to keep it loosey-goosey. So I'm going to weave my tail in as I work. Now if you really wanted to round this out, you could put 2 stitches in the corner, but I think I'm fine. I don't think I need to do that. So I got stitches up here I can use. Now I'm going to cut that off because I weaved it in, so I'm just going to give that a snip. Just about took out my coffee cup. So I'm going to follow the stitches along the top here, and then we can fast off with a sewing tail, and then we can sew this to his muzzle. So the smaller part down here goes up against his chin, and then obviously the wider part is under the muzzle itself. In case you're wondering why I did it that way. Because near his neck isn't nearly as wide. So I'm just gonna go in here and I'm gonna slip stitch and do my fasten off, that way it hides that white part. So I need a sewing tail. So this start of your black and end of your white, you can just tie that in a knot. It kind of just secures the two into a tight double knot so that it doesn't really impede my sewing. And then you can just snip that off. Leave a little bit of a nubby so it doesn't work its way loose. So I just left tiny little nubbies. And that'll just get sewn in when I sew it on. Now again, I don't know what the color of your dog is. I'm just going by the color of my dog. Underneath my dog's bottom jaw, it's all white, but his lips are black, and then the bottom part of his jowls obviously are black. So that's why I did this. So the smaller part goes under here, and then this part wraps around here. So yes, it is supposed to stick out like that. Oh, that kind of screwed that part up though. This is all getting sewn like that. So I'm going to start here and make sure that's in where it's supposed to be. So you can sew any way you want. I'm just going to go in and out for now. So I went out there and go back down the same hole. So I'm basically just moving the yarn. I'm not really stitching through the nose. So just make sure when you do something like that you pull tight. As long as it's not stuck, you shouldn't really see where you've done that. So I just need to pull this over just a bit. So just make sure. It's so hard to see, I know. Turn my light up. Hopefully that's a little better. It's black, it sucks. So I'm just going to go in and out like this. I'm just going to move my yarn as opposed to trying to do it any other way. So you got to make sure this rolls over here. So once you come back around, you can just go in as close as you can to your tail, and you can weave as many times as you want in the nose area or wherever you want to go. And then you can just snip that off. Oh, just about cut my actual muzzle. So that's what it should look like. It'll look a lot better once we get the upper jowls on. So, my upper jowls, these ones are two-tone with little freckles because that's what my dog looks like. But for this guy, I'm just gonna do him all in black. But if you want the pattern of any of the markings or the different colored jowls and stuff, just message me. Find me on Facebook or send me an email or whatever, and I will give you the pattern. I have everything written down. When I design things, I write it all down, so I can give you the pattern for that so that you can do the two-tone colors. But I think just for the video, I'm just going to do it all in the same color. So this is pretty simple. So let's do a slip knot. We're still using our 4mm, and we're going to chain 26. That's my 26. I'm going to bring this down here. So really for the next 7 rows, so if we're not switching colors for the next 7 rows, you're just going to do 25 single crochets. We're not decreasing until right at the very end because I need it smaller, closer to the nose. So I am done my 7 rows. I've chained one. I'm going to turn. So I decreased this last row because of how, if I didn't, it laid funny. I know that probably doesn't make sense, but this is the one that's gonna, this is the side that's gonna be closest to his face, so it's smaller area. So I'm gonna you're gonna see this written as SC2 tog, and that just means you're gonna single crochet 2 together. So you're just gonna do a regular decrease. So you're gonna go into your first stitch, pull up a loop, go into your second stitch, pull up a loop, and then pull through all 3 of those loops. And then we're gonna decrease the front, the middle, and then the end. So that's 10 single crochets, and then I'm going to decrease again. Sorry, my battery died. So we just SC2 togged, we just did a decrease right there. And then decrease the last 2 stitches. So just to make it curvy, your last round is going to be 1 single crochet all the way around. You're going to have to create stitches here and create stitches here, but that's going to give a round look. You're going to round off your edges to complete the jowls. So chain 1 before you start, and then just stick your hook in wherever you can stick your hook in. Now if you have to go deep with the hook, which you shouldn't have to, but you can pull it up and do extended stitches, just so it doesn't roll that much, kind of keep it all loosey-goosey. But it's going to give a rounded appearance, which is kind of what you want for jowls, just like that. So I am back around, so as you can see, this has more of a rounded appearance for a jowl, and using the smaller hook makes it kind of go around like that. It just wants to naturally curl. So I just got a few more stitches, well, one. I'm going to go into where I started, and I'm going to fasten off. So you need a sewing tail to sew this puppy on. Now if you want to put freckles or whatever on this guy, you have to get her done before we sew it on. And then we'll get the nose done. So the part that the end that we decreased, which is where your thing should be, that goes toward the face. And the part that so that's how it's going to go on. So I did not sew down. I sewed down to here. I left this hanging. So I sewed down to the bottom jowl. And then I came across into the black. I came across this way and continued my sewing. I didn't sew the bottom jowls because I kind of wanted them to stick out like that. So just to let you know what I did. So here I'm already at the bottom, so I'm just going to use my stitches. I'm not going into the doll. I'm just using my stitches to scooch up a bit so that I'm not starting at the bottom. Now just be careful how much you pull here. So go ahead and sew your jowls on, and I will see you. I'm just going to do it this way, by the way. I'm just going to do that all the way around, and I will see you when you're done. And when I do my second stitch, I'm going to start behind this. Just make sure you get down into the doll. So I'm back around to where I don't want to sew. So I'm just going to go up this way. I'm doing the exact same thing, getting down into that nose. And I'm just going to move up this way. I'm trying not to pull tight because I really don't want that to be tight. I just want to move it. And attach it, obviously. But I don't want it tight. So if I do pull tight, I'm just going to pull out a little bit, because I don't want anyone to see that line. So once I'm over here, This is where I'm going to kind of weave, just to keep it into the black. So if you still need to make a couple of stitches up here, like I didn't sew up and around here because it doesn't really move, but if you want to put some stitches up and around here, that's fine. All I'm doing is weaving, and that should hold it down a bit. So I am done. So I just cut it off. I don't make a knot or poke it down or anything like that. So this is our jowls. So you want it to kind of be up like that for jowls. So it looks weird because he's not two-toned to me, because my dog's got a two-toned snout, but let's get his nose done. And I think that's probably all the time we have for part 1. Part 2 will be the legs, the arms, or front paws, ears. So let's get the nose done and then we'll end it for today. So I'm going to keep my camera nice and bright. I'm still going to use my 4mm because I'm still using the black to do a black nose. So you just want to make a magic ring. Now we're not stuffing this guy, we're just going to kind of squish him flat. So put 4 single crochets in there because I want to point on him. Then you want to put 2 single crochets in each stitch around, so you need 8 stitches. I'm just going to count. I know it's black and it's hard to see, but I can barely even get into the stitches. They're so hard to see. I don't even think I'm in the right spot half the time. Of course, and then I got blaring lights at me because I'm recording a video. So very, very hard to see. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. I'm going to use my marker here. That's 1 single crochet. And then your next stitch gets the increase. So you should have 8 stitches that you're working with. The next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase, bringing you up to 16 stitches. Last round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase, bringing you to 20 stitches. I don't know how I haven't screwed this up already. Black is so hard for me to see, but I finished in the right spot, so we are going to fasten off. So you need enough to sew this shut. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to fold the nose and sew it shut. And then you got to sew it to the top part of the jowl. So this guy here, You can just make a knot so he doesn't come undone. Push him down. Cut him off, leaving a nubby. Always with the nubbies. So push that point up. So you're going to sew, you're going to whip stitch this across. You can put stuffing in this if you want, but there's no need. There's absolutely no need to do that. So fold your thing in half. You're going to whip stitch this shut. And then this, with the point this way to the front, you're going to sew him on there, and that's going to be his nose. So sew him so that he's flush with his upper jowl. You don't want this hanging over. It'll look stupid. So when I go down though, I'm going to kind of pop out his nose here. And make a small little wee knot. Cut it off, leaving a nubby. And then push that down into his nose. There we go. There we go, guys. So that's all for part 1. I'll see you in part 2 for everything else. The ears, the arms, the legs, and the bandana if you want to do that too. So thanks for joining me. I'll see you in part 2.